My name's Dave Hayward. I'm comic book geek, dog owner, and digital marketer in that order. I've been around a while. These are some of the people that I've worked with. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of Journey. We are a customer experience, technology, and digital design firm. And we specialize in digital products, applications, that sort of thing. These are the sorts of people that we work with at Journey. And I thought, before we get too started, it's been a big conference. I know also I'm very aware that I'm between you and a cocktail. So I'm going to, try and keep it thing. I thought before we got too far, what I'd do is just start with a kind of mental palate cleanse for you all, because we've had a lot of deep domain specialists. We've had crypto, we've had SEO, we've had email marketing, all that sort of stuff. And I just like to take a step out of marketing for 1 second and just remind everyone of one thing. And that is that the any element in your body, bigger than helium, was born in a star that blew up millions of years ago and billions of light years ago, potentially. And all of that has culminated with us being here at the Digital Marketing Conference. So it's a real honor to be with you all. And thanks for bringing you and all your star stuff here. First thing I'm going to start with is leading up to this conference, I used it as an opportunity to reach out to some senior marketers around who I really respect. And I thought what I did was I asked them about the theme, which is what they thought about how change is so big. And if you're a senior marketer like me, you've been around and seen so much change that it's really hard to kind of figure out how am I doing? How's my team doing? Am I doing the right thing? And so I spoke to some people. This is from a chief executive of a major insurance firm, and she is a hero of mine because she's come from the marketing comms discipline and made that transition over. I don't know if you're aware of this, but actually not many marketers do that. And what she had to say was, the longer I've been going, the more senior I've got, the more that I recognize my own knowledge of digital is limited because change is so rapid. And what she thinks is really important is that what she brings is that she can, she's good at shaping and scoping the problem or the opportunity and then galvanizing a team around it, and making sure they have the right resources around that. That's what she thinks the difference between her now and her earlier in her career. I spoke to another senior. He's a brand CX marketing in the FMCG space, and what was interesting about him is he talks about doing less. He said that everything, when you think about it, really boils down to the fundamentals. Get back to basics. He said product, price, promotion. Earlier, I think we said placement, but you can swap them out. I'd just like to say my wife is here. Welcome, Ferris, and thanks for coming, honey. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through 4 changes that are happening, and then I'm going to talk to you about 4 ways of winning, in the face of that change, and I'm going to take you through to 4 case studies of, someone that we know or brands that we admire who have responded to that. So the 4 changes are: the global economy is getting quite weird right now. We'll go into a bit more detail about that, but I think we all know it's a bit of a weird time. It's all changed on social platforms once again. Innovation oversupply. We're in an era of a lot of innovation, but we're basically falling into iterative capitalism. And then the last thing is that people no longer want to work with people who suck. And so we're going to talk about that. Some of these changes are bad. Some of them are very good. I think working for people who suck really, is not a good thing. So we're going to move on. So ways of winning at digital in response to that is people are doubling down on customer experience. Yeah, I admit my bias. Obviously, I'm going to say that, but you can hear all of the talks in the last 2 days. Everyone's talking about it. And the reason for that is because acquisition is getting more and more expensive. So looking after the people that you care about the most and who care the most about you is really important. Second thing is about smart, authentic content. Now, we've had a lot of talk about, I don't know, SEO, these very higher order techniques. And I think one of the cool things about digital marketing, being around a while, is that some of the basics still work. It's hardly crazy strategy to know that smart, authentic content is going to cut through all of the noise. The other thing that is happening is about late adoption. People always talk about bleeding edge and leading edge, but what we're seeing is a lot of fantastic people are actually jumping in on being a fast follower. They're the last person to move, and they reap all of the benefits and the learnings, and they don't have to be dragged down by legacy. And then the final is that culture and partners that enable high performance with joy, fun, and empathy. That is all of the things that we're talking about in the last couple of days. You need a partner who's in it for the long haul. And a lot of the problems that we've talked about, the panel this morning, people were talking about problems that can't be solved, quickly. So you need to know people around you who can help with that. And finally, because I'm a marketer, I've got a single organizing idea that is actually behind this entire deck. But I'm going to tell you at the end because it's kind of implicit. So we're going to start with economic changes. So we've got, a real soup of things happening right now. We've got, there's a lot of talk about recession, but in a nutshell, it's a weird time. And we've got a series of things happening. We've got historically high inflation. You have a look at this chart here. We're up closing in on 1990. So you've got, that's actually 30 years, unbelievably, so you've got close to, incredible thing, but at the same time, we've got almost full employment. So there's almost never been a time where this has happened. The other thing you've got is all these kind of interesting new things. You've got the attention economy. You've got meme stocks where people are pumping up stocks without a kind of relationship between performance and the stock. So there's a lot going on in that space. So what brands are doing to respond to this is they're doubling down on customer experience. In the face of a lot of turbulence, the thing that you can do is work on developing a better relationship with the people that matter most to you. And it's not just the obvious ones who are doing really cool stuff, right? So when you talk about customer experience, you think about some of the people that the earlier speaker talked about, IKEA, Nike, those sorts of ones. I'm going to talk to two that I bet you've never heard of. Oh, well, no, hang on. You've definitely heard of them, but you won't have thought about that they are really focused on doubling down on customer experience.
The engagement from the residents, they've just loved it. They're really excited by it. I think you've interviewed one of our residents, Murray, and heard his poem. And, that's just a wonderful expression of the way that our residents are responding to this.
Got the app, chaps. A clarion call was sounded out to signify a new event. For mobile owners, without a doubt, this call was surely meant. The helpful team from Ryman HQ appeared among us right on cue. They came to encourage and direct us all how we could easily connect to the brand new Ryman app and thus close up the information gap. Well, about 4 years ago, for some reason or other, I wrote something which I read out to the troops after morning tea. And from then on, they've expected something every Friday morning. So over 4 years, there's about the best part of 200 poems. Most of the things that I've written have been a comment on something that's happened in the village over the past week or month or so. And that was the big thing that happened that week, and everybody seemed very enthusiastic about it. Some folks said, well, I don't want an app. I don't want to be anything to do with that. But a whole lot of them have been persuaded, and they're finding it very effective.
So I think this is the first time in my career I've ever come across creating a piece of technology and a poem being written about it. And what he's talking about is the Ryman Residence app. And it is an absolute masterpiece of co-creation with the audience to create something that's there. The Ryman team and Journey, they did something like 4,000 hours of interviews and customer experience work. There's a whole lot of stuff that you might not think about with an older population when you're creating UX patterning, for example. So, for example, about 30% of the target audience, they don't use technology at all, and then you've got probably another percentage who are pretty much savvy like us. So, how do you build technology around such a diverse group? And it turns out that actually not a lot of it has been done. So, what happened was we created this product which helps them connect to their each other in the Ryman village. And what it allows them to do is basically partake, get better connectivity and enjoy all of the enhanced activities that they have as life in a retirement village. It's got some really interesting stuff around it, around accessibility design, because you can't use colors when people have vision issues. So we had to look at different ways that we could surface important information without using colors. And the other thing is that accessibility design, famously ugly, right? So one of the challenges was how do we make accessibility design really beautiful? And that was at the core and one of the core things. And I think we've achieved it. And so that's the app. You can see the notifications there. There's a virus going on, or there's car parking issues. We do things where we tell them it's urgent rather than just using a color coding thing. That sort of stuff. Simple stuff, but it makes a huge difference. And it's had a phenomenal. It has really made a big difference for the residents that are there. It's been at 2 villages, and they're rolling it out to 40 villages across New Zealand and Australia. Another one who has doubled down on customer experience is New Zealand Ski. They were heavily impacted as COVID. New Zealand Ski operate three ski fields in Wanaka: Coronet Peak, the Remarkables, and one other I've just forgotten. But anyway, what they did was they really took the time while there was COVID to deep dive into customer experience, and they mapped the entire physical experience of going to and arriving at a ski field. Now, one of the things about a ski resort that you may not be aware of, I certainly wasn't before I joined Journey, and that is that basically ski resorts are actually quite a complicated product. There's a lot of permutations with what you might do, pricing, all that sort of stuff. So there's 2 things going on. There's the product aspect of it when you're signing up to join, and then there's the app also, or the assets have to also work when you're there. So it's sort of doing 2 things. The second thing that it's doing is surfacing up information about the snow, where the cameras are, all that sort of stuff. And it looks gorgeous as well. That's the other thing, And this won Best Awards last year, and is my thing gone? It's still going. It's also won Good Design Awards, but that is embargoed for some strange reason. I can't talk about it until the 15th of next month. But yeah, it is. It's award-winning, and it's a really beautiful piece. But again, built on doubling down on that customer experience. Okay, all change on social platforms. This influence on the left-hand side, Charlie, she earns 3 times what Tom Cruise does, and she's a dancer on TikTok. And you can see here that there's a sort of big change. Obviously, Facebook's still top of the list, and TikTok is catching up rapidly. But it's actually not so much a gorilla as King Kong. So last year, 2021, TikTok, 21 trillion minutes of TikTok was consumed, which, I don't know, it's hard to understand if that's big or not. To give you an idea, 9.6 trillion minutes was consumed of Netflix. People pick up TikTok 13 times a day, an average user. So it's really, they have absolutely mastered it. And sometimes I watch people on it, and it's like they're sort of having an opium moment. They're sort of like, you know, really in there. So what's going on? And the other thing that's hilarious is it's super weird. This is the thing that I'm currently really fascinated about. It's called Shift Talk. And it's a whole lot of people who believe that you can do certain rituals and transfer yourself into an alternative reality. Like, for example, you can go and you could actually create a life for yourself at Hogwarts. Yeah. Now, that sounds a bit niche, except for that there's the Shift Talk hashtag has been viewed 1.1 billion times. So we're really talking about this kind of new phenomenon here. And, you know, as marketers, we've seen it all. I remember starting out and, just putting up a website was pretty cutting edge. You know, blogs were pretty exciting. And now we've got this. So the other thing that's sort of trending there is we've got changes with Meta. And I think the thing is you can't really rule Meta out, right? They have an absolutely huge following. They have a lot of money. They're sinking a lot of money into VR and all that sort of stuff. That's where we've got, Zuckerberg's really, good-looking avatar over here. But what's happening is that, they've got a new competitor, and so they're scrambling to kind of catch up. So again, I'm going to go back to the really startling strategy for you all, which is what you need to do to cut through all of this is smart, authentic content. Now, I am going to show you a case study of someone that I have a real personal connection with because I work part-time for them as well. And they're called Auckland Rugby League. They're also a client of Journeys. And what they've done is about 6 to 9 months ago, they had basically no social media they're almost like a controlled study in what happens. They had basically no social media. 2 months ago, they started TikTok. And they've really doubled down on that content. So I'm going to show you some of the fun stuff that they've done. They created an anthem with King Kapisi, where they do little videos on things like Rochelle over there is a referee, and they're doing some sideline etiquette campaigns called Our Whanau, Our Way, and Our Whare. That's over there. And I'm not sure if this is going to play, but what they do is they do fun stuff where they take quite slick stuff and they splice it together with user-generated content. And the numbers, there is no money behind this stuff. It's just created. The numbers are eye-watering. They've had 200,000 views of one TikTok already. Again, they've been going 6 weeks. So here's one of pretty cool, but it's pretty much exactly what you expect from a sporting organization, right? It is. What's great about it is everything's kind of lo-fi. So they have some broadcast stuff that they do, and it's cut up for people's mobile phones. But what is really cool about TikTok is you have this kind of really weird fun stuff that just goes nuts for no reason at all. And I, to be honest, I'd love to know what it is, but I think there's a lot of people all over the world that would very much like to know what it is that makes a good TikTok and what doesn't. And so this one has had 21,000 views, and it's as weird as anything, but it is lots of fun. So I'm just going to show it.
Yeah, you know the never fall, never fall. You know the drill. You know the drill. I'm a TikTok shake, TikTok shake. I'm a TikTok. You know the drill.
That's Mount Albert Grammar. Yeah. So yeah, it's super cool. And for some reason, the kid's loving it. They also had a fullback kicking a goal who was in the earlier video. That was the one that had 200,000 views, and the comments were mostly from teenage girls, and super fun, really fun. Okay, so the impact they've said that, again, they've gone from not having a social media presence to doing close to 100,000 video views, that sort of thing, which for a small not-for-profit organization with very little resources is pretty amazing, really. And also, in New Zealand, we always do quite small metrics compared to overseas. So I am going at a reasonable pace because I'm between you and a cocktail. So if I'm going too fast, just jump in. We have one of the things that's really starting to happen is iterative capitalism. So we've gone from Steve Jobs, talking about how it's an MP3 player, it can go on the internet, and it's a phone, and you're like, oh my God, he's talking about the same thing. What is this? It's the iPhone, and then suddenly you went from not needing it to knowing you desperately need it. Now we've got to the point where I couldn't tell you which iPhone, what's happened. I mean, the iPhone 12 and the iPhone 13 was so, the differences were so small, you're basically getting a faster version of it yourself. So energy has been focused on bleeding edge technology that people have forgotten how cool it is just to actually just take an idea and take all of the best, including your competitor stuff, get it all together, think about what's best about it, and the innovation is just a sprinkling on the top. And so one of the people that have really done that is a company called Media, and they have something called an aviation security portal. So to give you an idea, they have 15,000 jets that they look after. There is around about 11,000 flights per day. And over COVID, they suddenly found that was oversubscribed because people couldn't use commercial flights. So what happened was they realized that they needed to create some technology to enhance flight planners because flight planners were finding that they were having to deal with a lot more. And so what they did is they created this platform. It's called Media 360. And what it allows them to do is that it allows them to kind of zoom in kind of Minority Report style and pull out kind of key details about security and all sorts of stuff like that. It's done in dark mode because flight planners are often in these operation centers, which are very dark and have a lot of sort of stuff around that. And so you can see here that it's all working in real time. Now, the thing about it is it's got 20,000 data points that it pulls off. And it also scrapes information off social media to actually surface up information before the media know about it, because they need to know if an airport's on fire or there's some sort of issue so that they can divert planes in real time. So it's, so you can do deep dive, you can check out the security assessments. One of the things that's a bit alarming is that over certain areas, they'll tell you what kind of weapons the people are going to be using. So you really got to take it easy out there. But luckily, the clever people at Media have done it, and they did it by looking at what their competition did. They looked at consumer apps like Uber and all sorts of map-based apps, and they took the best of it and created this product. And I was talking to the head of digital last week, and he said to me, the great thing is we don't have any legacy issues. Our whole product was purpose-built, and it's light. It's got no issues yet, he says. So there you go. So the other change that's happened is that people don't want to. People no longer want to work at places that suck. And I think it's one of the real gifts, unexpected gifts of COVID. During COVID, you had some of the poorest paid workers were forced to work in situations that could threaten their health quite significantly. And a lot of them are like, I'm done. I'm not going to do this anymore. And that's happened. There's also a lot of interesting stats that are coming out of the US at the moment to suggest that also long COVID has had an effect. A lot of people came out of the workforce and are not coming back in, particularly males aged 35 to 65. And so what that's meant is that suddenly for the first time in a long time, there's a whole lot of quitting going on. And in there is some really interesting stuff. So again, these sorts of stats are hard to kind of get your head around. The 3%, what does that even mean? Well, what it means is that every company, big companies are going to be looking at having to replace 1 out of 3 staff members annually. So it's huge. It's a really, really big change. And so what that's meant is that you've also got social media now where people just realize that you can just actually talk about it. You don't have to have a sucky experience and keep it to yourself. So what does that mean? And certainly, what does that mean for us? When we're trying to create long-term complex programs that involve lots of people. The people that are doing it well, people like Journey, and how they do it is that they have a high-performance culture, but it's surrounded in joy and fun and empathy. That's what you want. And in order to get that in a partner, you also need to have a commitment to it yourself as well. And what's interesting is that, you're seeing a lot of corporates now suddenly rush out, values. They got values painted all over their wall and all sort of stuff. And often the people kind of resent that because they know that those values are not really truly in that organization. So one of the ways that Journey does it is that they have what's called the flywheel. And this is a way of codifying customer and journey success in one document, right? So at the top is that we exist to elevate the customer experience, because we know if we do that, I haven't got my glasses on here. So if we know if we can do that, we can transform clients' businesses, right? And if we transform clients' businesses, we then need to refine and repeat, because it's only one thing to have that kind of giant, innovation leap or whatever it is. Actually, almost anyone can have an idea, right? But it's actually how do you codify that and actually turn that into success for your company? If you do that, you're going to improve performance. And if we do that for our clients, we may get into the situation where we can choose the customers that work for us so that we can do better work for those core clients. And then it comes back to the top. That's the flywheel of Journey. And what we do is we use this as a framework for looking at how we, codify customer success in one as well. So I'm going to recap. Stupidly left time for questions, which is a bit of a worry, but anyway, that's okay. We've got global economy. It's a bit weird right now. So, we've kind of touched on that. All change on social platforms, innovation oversupply, and people no longer want to work at places that suck. So what can we do as marketers in our humble corner of the business ecosystem? Well, what we can do is we can double down on customer experience. We can, create smart, authentic content. Again, that dramatically outrageous strategy that I'm proposing. We can look at late adoption wins. We can look at last mover advantage, sometimes called fast following. And then finally, look for people and partners who have a culture that is not just about high performance. It's about all the stuff that actually surrounds high performance. True high performance does not have to be grim metrics, KPIs, all that sort of stuff. It should be something that's inspiring, because people can choose where they want to work now, so they want to do stuff that has purpose, or at least is a great place to work. So the final idea behind all of this is a single organizing idea, which is that, really the one thing that I've kind of learned in my, reasonably long career is that actually my network is the most important thing to me, because it's because of that network that I'm able to identify things, and I may know someone who can help me solve it, or at least I'll know what time, there. And I think today, in the last couple of days, I've met a lot of people to add to that network. Everyone in this room can hopefully help you move the needle on something. And that's it. Thanks very much. We have time for questions, unfortunately, but totally cool if not. Sweet. Let's have a drink. Thanks so much. Just like to, on behalf of everyone here, just like to thank Richard and Aaron. It's been a really cool conference. Starting a conference from scratch in Auckland is not easy, and we're super pleased to be part of it. Thanks.